Welcome to Sprint Saturday in Sao Paulo. This is Formula One at Interlagos. We have just 36 points between the top three in the title race, 4 rounds to go in the championship, and 8 points up for grabs for our winner. It's round 21 of the Formula One World Championship in 2025, and the crowd are creating a glorious atmosphere around this venue, which runs to 4.3 kilometers, 2.6 miles, and we've got 24 laps on the board. The elevation is 43 meters and the circuit is greasy. Off the racing line, there's no certainty out there for the drivers. Between the lakes, we go racing. It's our 5th sprint race of the season, our penultimate one of the year. The final one is in Qatar, and this is the starting grid for the 5th sprint of 2025. Starting from the pit lane, Carlos Sainz has made setup changes. He's trying to learn more for the rest of his weekend. Yuki Tsunoda found the barriers in practice, put him on the back foot for sprint qualifying. Esteban Ocon on the podium here last year, he's 18th, and next to Liam Lawson in the Racing Bull. Franco Colapinto has a new contract and he starts 16th on the grid. Oliver Bearman was P4 in the last Grand Prix. A huge cheer from the crowd because Gabriel Bortoleto is on your screen in 14th. Pierre Gasly is another podium finisher around here. He's been there twice. Alex Albon in P12 next to Lewis Hamilton 2 years in a row. He has not made the final part of sprint qualifying. Nico Hülkenberg has made the top 10 in sprint qualifying a couple of times. He's in 10th. Isaac Hadjar is in P9. Charles Leclerc was so frustrated not to get the best lap available to him. He had a spin in sprint qualifying. He is next to P7 Lance Stroll. The reigning world champion goes from 6th, and he said his car was bouncing. Fernando Alonso was bouncing to be P5 on the grid. George Russell has won a sprint race around here before. Oscar Piastri looks like he's returned to form, but he's only P3. Kimi Antonelli going from the front row for the second time this year in a sprint race. If he wins today, he's the second youngest winner in the entire history of Formula One. Only Max Verstappen would have won the largest trophy on a race day at a younger age. The pole sitter is Lando Norris, the winner of the sprint race last year. Here's the moment that we already have the information for. In the commentary box, I'm Alex Shakes next to Jolyon Palmer. Jolyon, the tyre strategy is split.
I am so excited for this. We're going to see the blankets come off Bortoleto's car, which will reveal medium tyres, but at the front of the field, it's soft tyres for Verstappen. It's soft tyres for Russell, it's soft tyres for Antonelli, and there you go, mediums for the McLarens and for Fernando Alonso. It's punchy from those on the inside. Leclerc's done the same from 8th. I wonder if there's a difference in grip, though, on the inside line. It looks like it might be slightly wetter, so are they forced to start on that soft tyre just to preserve track position?
We had warnings of a cyclone overnight. The rainfall was not as dramatic as we expected. McLaren looked very good in dry conditions, but these are greasy conditions. You can see the surface here has been diamond cut for drainage. That applies at different parts of the circuit, but you can see the wet line in the background, and this is the first time the drivers will understand the conditions in the opening corners of the lap.
Look how damp it is on the inside line. So it's punchy in terms of the strategy, but that's a better indication there as the Ferrari gets going. It cuts across because it's very wet on the inside. So I think that is why, if you're starting from the even numbers, you've gone for a soft tyre just to give you a hope of keeping position, and who knows, maybe better. But it looks certainly like the outside line, the racing line, is going to have a significant advantage at the start. And Norris's practice start there, or dummy grid start, was very, very good as he launches in on the medium tyre.
This is the first time Lando Norris has led the field away for a race as the championship leader since round 5 of the season. It is round 21. We are on the formation lap, and they are already bunching together on the exit of turn number 5. This is a narrow racetrack. Old school racetrack, glorious fan attendance here, but there will be cars on this opening lap forced to go over the wet part of the circuit, like you can see at these corners here.
Norris is pushing. It's a sensible thing to do. He's actually pushing on this formation lap just to feel some grip, feel what's happening.
You're absolutely right. He's managed to make it to that part of the circuit in 1 minute and 15 seconds. That was not your usual formation lap pace for Lando Norris. He is allowed to dictate the speed of this formation lap. You're on board with Kimi Antonelli. He's got the grippiest tyre. He's got a place on the front row. Can he get his first Formula One win of any description today?
And look at Norris taking off as well down to Jinsao just to try and get one more feel for the final corner there. Big gaps between the cars. It's a sensible play, I think, from Norris on the medium. Starts from the front, feel what the grip is. If you go a very slow formation lap, no one learns, but of course, you don't want that element of randomness. Everyone else now parked up, trying to get some heat in their tyres. The McLarens are coming around to the front of the field, so it's going to be a long wait. That's the problem. I think he needed to bunch them up a lot more when he initially slowed, but going again means he's going to be sitting on that grid a long time.
We were watching the cars leave the pit lane and Gabriel Bortoleto feeling out the grip. The two McLarens were pushing on their reconnaissance lap to the grid, and Lando Norris on this formation lap did the same thing in the opening 10 corners or so.
They were both sliding through that corner on the left-hand side of your screen there. Ferradura, the quick right, both of them caught snaps of oversteer at the same point. The conditions are treacherous.
Look at what we're seeing out here from Fernando Alonso, going way high to the driest part of the circuit.
And Verstappen following him. Max has got to then peel to the inside of the circuit, but it's smart, it's clever. Stay on the dry as long as possible, protect your tyres, and then come over to the wetter part of the circuit.
You would never normally see that. That is not the racing line, but that is the dry line, and we're going to see pure instinct here. Two heading to the pit lane are Yuki Tsunoda and Carlos Sainz. We will have 18 on the grid, and we have 2 sprint races and 4 Grand Prix to go to settle the World Championship in 2025.
Short run to the first corner. If you're barreling in speed from the wet part, it's precarious.
Verstappen in P6, Piastri in P3. Norris leads the field away. Green flag at the back. The title fight continues in 5 lights time. We're underway and sprinting to turn number 1. Lando Norris gets the reaction time. What's the second phase like? Piastri side by side with Antonelli. Russell diving to the inside. Aggressive stuff for Verstappen. He gains a position, and we see Norris with the race lead. Antonelli in second place. They're squirming all over the road as they apply the power. Fernando Alonso lost that position to Max Verstappen, who is up to P5. It's Norris, Antonelli, Piastri, the top 3.
Antonelli did well to hold second position, came across towards the dry bit of track and found some drive as one of the Racing Bulls finds the grass down towards turn 4. I think that was Liam Lawson further back.
You can see Antonelli weaving, trying to generate tyre temperature. Was the contact further back? Lawson and Behrman were side by side. We cut away with it. They were heading to turn number 4. Is that the reason why we've headed back? Behrman has dropped down the order.
Yeah, yellow flag is cleared now. So good move from Max Verstappen as well. He was on that worst side of the grid, managed to get up the inside of Fernando Alonso still, almost slithered wide onto no man's land of the wetter part through turn 2, but kept it in. This is Behrman now slow, and then he puts Lawson towards the grass.
And we get pinched down to turn 4. Lawson into the side of the Haas, and round goes Oliver Behrman.
Yeah, so it started with Bortoleto shuffling Behrman wide. Ollie backed out of it, and then found Liam Lawson up his inside, who didn't back out of it.
You can see Oscar Piastri holding into 3rd position. He was very close with Kimi Antonelli in the opening meters of the race. They both got through, and the soft tyre will fire up quicker than those on the medium. The McLarens are both on the medium.
Antonelli's really close as well to the back of Lando Norris here, heading down towards turn 4.
The teenager from northern Italy, just 19 years of age, promoted rapidly through the junior ranks. P6 last year in the Formula 2 Championship, putting the pressure on the championship leader. He's fired up those tyres. We saw him weaving before. He's in the temperature window right now. That's the lead in Formula 1, just a couple of meters away.
If he wants it, now is the time to strike, because the soft tyre advantage will not last a huge amount longer. It's a faster tyre, not by a huge amount, but in these conditions that's exaggerated. The difficulty will be when they get to lap 20, trying to cling on for the last few laps. He wants track position now, but Norris has been good on the combined exits there out of turn 10, Vico de Pato, and he's clear, it seems, just about as Antonelli washes wide with understeer coming through Jinsao.
Oh, the exit at this corner, you take all the momentum through the sweepers. There's a lot of spray at a corner that you wouldn't normally consider, as Lando Norris leads by a second over Kimi Antonelli, and you can see Oscar Piastri putting the pressure now on the second place man. Both Mercedes drivers are on the grippier tyre, on the soft tyre. Verstappen is a second behind George Russell.
You can see the attitude of the cars, all of the top 3 just fighting for traction coming out of the centre S. Antonelli finding the wetter part. You can't really avoid it at that point. It's down the hill and the water's just collected and stayed there. Mistakes are so easy to make in these sort of conditions. As it is, the drivers all finding their feet, learning and getting more established with the conditions. Of course, they will dry more and more throughout this race. This is the most treacherous part as they're figuring things out.
Just generally in that first sector of the racetrack, Antonelli is happy in those corners. Top 8 score points in the sprint. You're looking at 12th place Alexander Albon, trying to put some pressure on Pierre Gasly, who is up 2 places from where he started the sprint.
He's had a cracking start as well, up into the top 8 on the medium tyre, so didn't go with his teammate on the soft, started on the better side of the grid, on the outside line, and it has made full use of that. So both Ferraris up into the top 8. Constructors' Championship points still critical for them, for Mercedes and for Red Bull. Look at the lines varying as drivers try and stay on the drier part of the circuit, then are forced to splash through the puddles into turn 1, get back to that dry line, hug it through 1 and 2, and then hope that you're not having too much combined traction coming through turn 3 or fighting the car already when you get there, because it is quite snappy through that exit.
Antonelli dropping back on this lap. It's 1.3 seconds. Now the gap between the leader and second position. Further back, you can see Charles Leclerc. There he is in your picture right now. Never stood on the podium around this racetrack in a Grand Prix. He's chasing down Fernando Alonso. Let's go back to the start of the race.
So looked like the initial getaway was even, but Antonelli's just struggling for that traction. Comes across towards the outside line. Looked like Russell was going to come past them both. It's very, very tight for Piastri around the outside, and Russell was cautious on that inside line.
Want to see the steering for Piastri, because I think he had to open it up there to avoid Antonelli. You can see Verstappen getting by, and then you can see Alonso out-dragging the Scarlet Ferrari out of turn 3.
And Hamilton is already up to 8th. Let's have a look at this off the line for Lewis. On the drier part of the circuit, but on the medium tyres, you've got Hulkenberg flying down the inside, and then just some caution from the inside on braking. I guess they've come from a sprint race where there's a pile-up at the first corner where there wasn't caution on the inside of braking. This time the grip comes to Lewis, just 1 car's width wide of the apex, and it's a nice opportunistic start.
This is on board with Oscar Piastri. Immediately, those on the left-hand side want the drier line. Let's see what it looked like into the Senna S.
So we're there. It's very, very, very tight. Paper thin between Antonelli and Piastri into turn 1. Well measured from the two of them. Avoid contact and stay in the same positions.
And this was Lawson and Behrman into turn 4, and this is now under investigation.
This kid pushes me in the grass and then says that, well, I don't know where I'm meant to go.
Looked like Behrman maybe needed to be thinking about giving more space to Lawson from that angle. Is it from Liam's point of view, but certainly came across the width of the track. Lawson was then put on the grass. He shouldn't be doing that. And then, so Ollie definitely would have known he's there, and then proceeded to turn in. So not a lot of space. And given the conditions, you've got to have a little bit more caution. Just giving 1 perfect car's width on the apex is always going to be a risky move for a driver on the outside.
Comparing the top 2 in this race, the first sector, which is the Senna S, turn 3, and into the braking zone of turn 4. Antonelli, very, very confident here. Crucially, though, the best overtaking opportunity is coming into turn 1, and Norris is getting his exits right out of Jungsao every single time to perfection. So it's ebbing and flowing across the lap.
Piastri's
in the wall! In the wall and out of the race! The slippery conditions put Piastri in the barriers, and one of the contenders for the title is out.
Massive. Oh, there's
another
more.
Another one in the barriers as Colapinto finds himself there as well, and the safety car is out as Piastri finds the barrier at turn 3.
So that was the corner where you're applying the combined traction, you're coming through, you need to keep the speed up, and there was the damp part there.
Okay, it was Colapinto and Hulkenberg involved in the secondary accident, but it is crucially for the title a telling moment. Piastri into the barriers and out of the race. Norris on for 8 points as it stands. The safety car is deployed.
Yeah, it's absolutely huge. He was already backwards when he found the barriers there, so he's just lost the rear all in a hurry. Let's see it on board. So it's dry at this point. We get towards the apex of 2. Get on the throttle, and you can just see the white line and the puff of spray that came off on the left-hand side, and poof, we're heading to the barriers. It looked treacherous there from the first lap. The drivers were handling it so well, but not finally, where we've got 1, and then 2, and then very soon, 3 cars all finding the barriers on the same lap.
Extraordinary. Hulkenberg managing to get going again, minus a front wing. Oscar Piastri out of the sprint race. The safety car deployed. Max Verstappen now running in 4th position. It's Norris, Antonelli, Russell, Verstappen, Alonso, Leclerc. Hamilton now up 4 places. Lance Stroll on for the final point. But is that a telling moment? We talked about how this could influence things. As it stands, Norris moves to 365 points. Piastri, who was over 30 points ahead when he won the Dutch Grand Prix in Zandvoort, finds himself on 356. Max Verstappen currently on to take 5 points more out of Oscar Piastri.
Yeah, it's big, isn't it? A 2-point swing feels neither here nor there, although it is tiny margins of the championship. An 8-point swing is significant.
Red flag is out, and we have an interruption for a sprint race, which is fairly rare, have to say. Usually 30 minutes of lights to flag racing. And the man from Melbourne is in the car, out of the race, and
you know what?
Yeah, go on.
It's the smallest of errors. It's just trying to find, as the track gets drier, let's hear Antonelli.
Norris hit the curb and a lot of water went online.
So maybe that's what someone else further ahead has splashed more water onto the road, and Kimi obviously seen the race leader doing that. So it seems strange that all 3 cars would all go off. It's shades of, give me 2003, when there was a car park down there.
Yeah.
There was a
river across the run, caught out Michael Schumacher, caught out Jenson Button all those years ago.
Amongst plenty of others. I mean, it's such a difficult corner. You need to just keep the throttle in, because if you start lifting off, then you're going to lose all the way down to turn 4, and you have a lot of load going on. So as soon as you're braking and turning, but even more critically accelerating and turning, that rear axle is so on the limit. And we could see it with Oscar. As soon as there was that puff of spray kicked off the slip tyres, they've not cleared it. He's into an oversteer.
The car is just bouncing everywhere. It's terrible. Can't keep up.
Yeah, okay, we're just going to try and get you through some recommendations for turn 1. Turn 1 looks really poor.
No, it's just wet. I have no grip. It's not
yes,
the balance.
so we are giving you recommendations so that you avoid oversteering into the corner every lap, Max. Whether you take them or not is up to you.
Well, that radio message tells a story of Red Bull's weekend, but Max Verstappen is still in position to outscore Oscar Piastri, something he's become accustomed to in the last couple of races. In the last 6 races, Verstappen 134 points, Russell 86, Norris 82, Piastri 72. And the Australian driver's car is in the barrier at turn 3. Colapinto is also out of the race. Hulkenberg got back to the pits. This is on board with Oscar Piastri.
So he's hustling in behind Antonelli. Looked like he was fighting his own little bit of rear instability on the way in. There's your curb, and it's just, you break traction with that. The splash on the left front is what we can see, but the same thing is happening on the rear. And you just lose your contact patch of rubber on asphalt or curbing. And as soon as you have that, you've got 1,000 horsepower, you just have nowhere to go. Bingo, same thing for Hulkenberg on the curb. If you're off the curb, you're fine. If you take the curb, you're not. The Williams is okay, and behind it, I would wager a lot that Colapinto's done the same thing. It sounds like Norris started doing the same thing out from P1 and caught it.
We're on board with Nico Hulkenberg. Watch the left front tyre.
He's very ambitious with that. All over it. You've also got then the ride that's giving you natural bouncing. Your tyres are searching for that little bit of grip, and when you've got high speeds and full load, it's so easy to do it. Point is that 3 of them have done it on the same lap, and when you've got a track that's wet and drying, you get experimental. At some point you will be able to take the white lines, at some point you'll be able to take the curves and you'll go quicker. It's just too soon. There we go, finds the curve, finds the white line, round we go.
Just want to reiterate this point for everyone watching at home. The drive is getting braver, using more of the racetrack in the rhythm after the early laps. That's a telling picture. Piastri distraught to see his sprint race come to an early end.
Well, it's not the Grand Prix. It's not a 25-point haul he can lose out on. It's an 8-point haul. There is the Grand Prix to try and make that up tomorrow. Oscar's been feeling happier with the car. It's not all done for him, but it's clearly a blow when there's nothing in it in the championship. The trajectory that he's been going on as well in recent races, and to have another crashed McLaren, it's a tough one. But there's another race start to come. Norris hasn't won this thing yet. Anyone can change tyres. There are opportunities still for the Mercedes. You've got Verstappen now starting from 4th. Anything can happen in the remaining 16 laps.
It was always going to be, with Las Vegas, Qatar and Abu Dhabi are running after this, the weather playing the part was always going to be the variable. We had far less rain than we expected at the start of today, but the fact that we had enough of a circuit where you could attack has led to the 3 cars in the wall, one of which is Oscar Piastri, who is out of the race along with Franco Colapinto, and Hulkenberg had damage to the rear wing as well as the front.
Yeah. And as a driver, when you're in these conditions, you think you get into the rhythm, but you do at some point need to start using the white lines if you can. And if you're just safe the whole time, someone else will find that there is grip there, and they'll go quicker than you. And Piastri's trying to fight to pass Antonelli. He's obviously gone too soon. You find that you have tiny moments, and it takes your breath away when you have them, because you're like, oh no, it's not ready yet to take that curb, to take that white line. But if you never try it, you'll never know. It was just ultimately a little bit too soon, and not the corner probably to try it there when you've got full load and everything firing out of turn 3. The bottom of the hill as well, where the water's collected more. And it's a slope, isn't it, the Senna S? I don't think the pictures ever really do it justice of the elevation change there.
I was filming a feature that you can see tomorrow for the pre-Grand Prix show, and I can tell you, having climbed back up that hill about 5 times to shoot that piece, it is absolutely very steep. It is a cliff edge. It provides so many great overtaking opportunities, but so many defining moments. We had it last year. Max Verstappen takes the lead from 17th on the grid. Lando Norris goes wide. Effectively, the title decided there and then.
Yeah. Don't tell me you're not one-take Alex Jakes. 5 times up the hill.
Listen, want to give the editors something to play with. Anyway, we have a red flag if you're just pressing play and getting up to speed. Huge moment in the World Championship. We have Oscar Piastri touching the curb on the way in to turn 3, being spun into the barriers at that corner, and he is out with both of his rivals for the title set to score. Crucially, the man who overtook him in the last Grand Prix, who leads the World Championship by 1 point, is currently on, if he can maintain that position, for 8 more, which is, for a sprint race, again, like we saw in Austin, a huge moment of consequence.
But there's still a long way to go in it. And there's another start, and Norris will need to not rest on his laurels here. He will have seen that car being in the barriers coming through with the safety car initially, but it's there's still, you can't take your eyes off the ball here. Verstappen is in position to pick up a chunk of points. He's not out of this either. Red Bull can find performance for tomorrow. Parc Fermé rules will be lifted. He might not be down on the grid for the Grand Prix tomorrow. So Norris has to make sure that he delivers. Max needs to recover as much as he can and stay as close as possible. Although, of course, he'll be back to the inside line off the grid, which is not where he wants to be.
This is on board with Liam Lawson. Opening lap of the sprint race. Oh, tight squeeze from Behrman. And then contact with the same pair moments later.
So I'd probably put that in the realm of a racing incident, actually. So Lawson he's coming across. The squeeze is tight from Behrman. Where was he in relation to Behrman at the time of going on the grass? Was he heading to a gap that was going to be shutting there? This is why Behrman was suddenly going slow, because he backs out of that. He sees that coming and then goes to the left-hand side, whereas Lawson keeps going into a closing gap. And then this is just tight. 2 drivers heading in, first lap.
It's typical Lawson.
Well, he is aggressive, but he was right up the inside into turn 4. Wasn't left a huge amount of space, didn't wash wide with oodles of understeer. For me, that's a racing incident.
3 sets of tyre marks telling the story of the race so far. Oscar Piastri back into the debrief. A driver who has led the Formula 1 World Championship for 15 rounds. They're not coming into this weekend. The longer this goes on, the better news it is for Sauber to get more running out there. Even if you've got no chance of points, you want all the data you can get. They only get 1 practice session. Then you're into sprint qualifying. Sauber locked in a really tight battle at the lower reaches of the Constructors' Championship. You've got Racing Bulls on 72 points. You've got Sauber on 60, and that is P6 down to P9 in the Constructors' Championship. The highlight of Hulkenberg's season and Sauber's season, that podium at Silverstone, and the FIA delegate in conversation about what they can do. He's parked up at the front of this queue because he came back to the pits.
Yeah, of course, by getting it back, they're allowed to try and fix the car and get him back into the race. Piastri didn't have that opportunity. The damage was too big. Rear of the car. So they're making sure it's a like-for-like component here. Joe Bauer down there the technical delegate for the FIA, making sure there's legal parts going on, keeping an eye. Got to be replaced like for like.
On board with Kimi Antonelli, the driver who was running P2. This does give you an idea of how much you're dropping down the hill. And then the curb that sends Piastri to the wall and out of the race.
It was a slow slide initially, wasn't it? Looked like he may hang on to it, and then the car fully lets go as you lose the downforce from it. Looks like he can hold it for a moment. Wait. Now it's gone. And you just have a spike of heart rate. As soon as you feel the car going, you feel it through the core of your body, and your sort of breath leaves you as you realise this is a huge moment. You hope to save it, but it's as soon as you wind on that full opposite lock, you know you're in trouble.
Does it speed up? Does it slow down? What happens when you have a moment like that of consequence for a championship bid?
It feels so quick. It feels like there's absolutely nothing you can do to save it. So look, there's Norris doing the same thing in P1. Almost it looks like a bigger splash through the puddle for Norris. So that is probably putting a little bit more moisture closer to the racing line as well.
Antonelli staying away from that same line. This is Gabriel Bortoleto, and that was his view.
It's the difference of taking the white line, taking the curb, and not. Bortoleto played it safe, Colapinto didn't. He also had a bit of a rallycross entry here, turning in from a damper patch at turn 1. Fighting it through 1, 2. There's the white line. See you later. Whack the front of the Alpine. The McLaren is damaged at the rear, and there are more sensitive components at the rear as well. I'm sure they'll be able to fix it before qualifying later on. Look at the gullies.
There you go. And that is Interlagos. That is the nature of an old school circuit where it's not snooker table smooth like it is at other racetracks. There's wear and tear. It's part of the character of this place, but you've got to be aware that the rain can gather there.
That's why we get drama. We get drama at this race, year in, year out. The weather plays a big part. It so often does. And the old school nature of it, it's punishing. The water doesn't clear quite as well. They've improved the drainage in places for this season, but not obviously in that curb area.
Okay, the race will resume at 35 minutes past the hour. I can tell you that is in 12 minutes time. We're under red flag conditions. Let's check in downstairs with Chris and Alice.
Yeah, we're just a third of the way through this sprint race right now, and Alice, it's the point where everyone seemed to take that bit more risk at turn 3.
Yeah, and we said the weather would come into play, but maybe it wasn't falling from the sky. It fell earlier in the day, and as Jolyon and Alex said, it's the grooves on that curb, and I think actually it was all set off by Lando Norris, because we saw that he went through it, kicked up the water, and we're going to ride on board with Lando now. So he's gone through turn 1, down into turn 2, and he uses it and he kicks it up. He gets away with it, but that water then, if you look at the onboard camera from Antonelli, he's going to go through, and there, the onboard camera's got a splatter of water. Then we've got Oscar, who's going to use pretty much the same amount of curb, I would say, than what Lando used, but I think because Lando's kicked it up and kicked some spray onto that outer part of the curb, he's then gone over it, and that's where he's lost the rear of the car. And same here with Hulkenberg. It's those fine margins. It's such fine margins, and you often get told in karting you've got to stay off the curbs. That's one thing they often get told. And then Colapinto, he doesn't use, I would say personally, not as much as Lando Norris, and that was the effect.
For that one with Franco, is that because everyone else has kicked some water now back onto the track that could lead to an incident like that? Because we had yellow flags out by that point too.
Yes, I would say it's the 2 cars in front of him, or the 3 cars if you're going to include Lando, that have kicked that spray up, and it's just sitting on that white line. It's sitting on the slippery paint surface of that curb, and as soon as you get a slick on a bit of wet track, well, we've seen how slippy it can be.
Yeah, very slippy, and we heard Kimi Antonelli there saying on the radio as well that he saw Lando go and use the curb. It didn't look that dramatic from Lando's onboard as we saw, but here with Kimi, as he goes through, and you mentioned, just keep an eye on how the camera gets a little bit dirty. You can see there a big splash from Lando's car ahead, and then still going through it, Antonelli. But why is it on this lap that everyone started doing that? Or will they have already been building up to it lap after lap?
Building up to it, getting to grips with the conditions, getting to grips with the car, a bit more confidence. We were on, lap 7 of the race, and you just try and push that bit further, that bit more, and they were testing their limits. That could have been Lando if that would spun around. Maybe it was Antonelli. Let's say they swapped around and Antonelli was leading and kicked up that water. It could have been Lando that spun off there. So, you know, it's just pushing the limits, testing it, and that's the beauty of Interlagos. We've got mixed conditions, tricky conditions, and yeah, Oscar, a big blow to his championship.
Is it something you can't quite react to quickly enough as a driver behind the wheel? We saw Antonelli and heard him report it afterwards, what Lando had done, going onto the curb, but you've got split seconds, I guess, between the driver ahead going off onto the curb and splashing the water, and by then you're committed to your line?
I think Antonelli actually reacted to it perfectly, because he was you don't look right in front of your nose, you're looking almost through the corner. So he was coming down into turn 2 when Lando was already on the exit. So that just shows his vision and where he's looking. He's looking so far ahead through the corner. He's seen that puff of spray from Lando and thought, that doesn't look great. I'm not going to take the risk and use that. And then we saw, obviously, on the onboard camera that the splash comes in, whereas Oscar was not able to see that because Lando was too far ahead down the road, and then took the risk, tried to squeeze a little bit more time out of it. And those were the consequences into the barriers.
Well, while we're under red flag conditions, I think we can look at some of the starts as well. And Isaac Hadjar having a poor one. This was the one for Max Verstappen on the inside that was very good, but nowhere really to go for Max at this point of that start.
Yeah.
But it does show how chaotic it was, wasn't it? And are you kind of impressed by how everyone handled at least the early part of this race?
Yeah, everyone kept pretty clean, didn't they, apart from Behrman and Lawson. But Max had a little look down the inside, had a sniff and thought, yeah, it's too wet on that inside. Better off it, go to attack later. Had a little jink to defend. But yeah, everyone was fairly clean, and it's hard with these conditions. Turn 1 was pretty wet, and they didn't get that sus of turn 1 to the grid because they weren't able. The pit exit is right on the exit of turn 3. So very good job by all the drivers.
Yeah, well, we'll see how they handle it now when we do get a restart in about 7 minutes' time. So we'll send it back to Alex and Jolyon.
Thank you, Chris. The red flag will be removed in 6 minutes and 30 seconds time, and we will see what race control decide will be the form of resumption. It is the race director's discretion at all times. We had the red flag for barrier repairs at turn 3. That's the word from the FIA, and you are looking at the order, which will begin with that man. Slight quirk of Hulkenberg coming back to the pits. And the incident involving Lawson and Behrman will be investigated after the sprint. That could have consequences for later in the weekend. Kimi Antonelli, again, in a situation where he is dreaming of that first win. And you have Fernando Alonso now up to 5th. Lewis Hamilton is in 7th. He's climbed 4 places from where he initially started. And Pierre Gasly is in 9th, trying to return to the points for Alpine. So one of the key things that we heard on the radio was Kimi Antonelli talking about what happened to the other McLaren. Not Oscar Piastri, who found himself in the barrier, but the water kicked up by Lando Norris. Let's look at this again. This is the lap that Piastri crashed. Let's look at Lando Norris's line.
Yeah, so the curb use caught out Piastri, but also Hulkenberg and Colapinto. Norris is on the dry part, comes through, takes the white line at the apex of 2, goes wider at 3, but he barely has a moment for Lando there. So sure, he's splashing a bit of water back onto those others, but the water will be there for Norris anyway. But because he's not committed to a load of steering lock, he's not unsettling the rear quite as much. He applies the steering when he's back on the circuit. It's a tiny nuance, but that's why he will have barely registered that as a moment. Obviously, there's a bit more water that's come onto various other places. Antonelli was talking about it coming onto the racetrack, actually. He didn't even take the curb on the exit of there, and you could just see the little puddle in the moment that he had through it. But Norris obviously had the confidence, ran the curb, and was absolutely fine with it. As soon as others did further back, moisture may be slightly further out from those grooves, and they weren't expecting it. So they've got more steering lock on, and as soon as you have that lock, that foot on the throttle, you're going to induce those moments.
I believe we can have a look at Antonelli's view of Norris going through that first turn. And you're looking at the Interlagos circuit, 4 minutes away from the resumption. This is the lap of the crash for the man second in the points, Oscar Piastri. This is Antonelli's view of Lando Norris taking that wider line.
So he coaxes it into 1. Norris then gets the splash. That's a lot of water that's coming off there. Antonelli just about gets on the white line, but doesn't get near the curb. And that's why he's actually fine there through that. He's talking about the water, I think, that obviously can see that Norris has the splash of puddle, but he's talking about the water that actually also comes onto the racing line where he drives through, but it's there for everyone further back. it was fine for Norris. Those further back seemed to be all caught out with it all of a sudden. Tiny differences of driving style can make a massive effect in these sort of conditions, and that'll be the difference there for Piastri. Maybe a little bit more throttle, maybe a bit more speed, probably a little bit more G, and moisture, and you find yourself off into the barriers. And the fact that 3 of them did it on the same lap shows how tricky the conditions were.
3 minutes to go. We will line up with Lando Norris leading the field away. And just to remind you of the championship connotation, the gap between Piastri in second and Norris in first would be 9 points if it finishes like this. But on the evidence of what we've seen today at Interlagos, we have, it might be a shorter sprint race, but we have a long way to go. And Antonelli, who has won junior titles, knows that Norris will have the opportunity of converting this front and centre in his thoughts at the restart.
But there's still a lot of action to unfold. We're only lap 8 of 24. Russell now will start third, which is a good place to start. Norris will have a chance to switch to a soft tyre, which should now last the distance. Russell from third will start on the drier line and could pose a bigger threat than Antonelli starting from second place. Verstappen's got to deal with the moisture off the line again from the inside. It'll be a little bit better than it was before, but not by a huge amount. And he's got Fernando Alonso still starting fifth, trying to make a better start than he did before. Really lousy start from Alonso from the better side of the track earlier on, but still in good contention.
Max Verstappen not happy with the handling of his car. That has been true from practice to sprint, qualifying, and now into the sprint race. We heard the conversation with his engineer GP, and this is Hulkenberg being released back onto the circuit. They've repaired that Sauber, and he will line up at the back as per the mandated restart order from race control that begins with Lando Norris, and then it's Antonelli, Russell, Verstappen, Alonso, and the point scorers as we restart this race, concluded by Leclerc, Hamilton and Lance Stroll for Aston Martin. Reminder for you, Norris is on the medium tyre, takes longer to warm up. Antonelli on the soft, Russell on the soft, Verstappen on the soft, Alonso on the medium, Leclerc on the soft, Hamilton on the medium along with Lance Stroll. Hamilton having, now that's a key moment, a rolling start procedure is the call by the race director. Rui Marquez has that in his control. It's part of the rule book, and he is allowed to assess the conditions and decide whether we have a standing start or a rolling start. Jolyon, your reaction to that?
It doesn't need to be a rolling start, does it? We've had a standing start in worse conditions and everyone behaved themselves, but it's the safer option. He obviously doesn't want any more delays. We've got qualifying coming up now. A standing start has more chance of incidents. So Rui Marquez has gone rolling start. Yeah. Feels cautious. Maybe just to keep it clean. With qualifying coming up, I guess there's got to be a mandated 3-hour wait from the end of the sprint to qualifying. Can't have another delay, or we'll be qualifying in the dark later. Norris has switched to the soft tyres. They can change tyres. Norris has switched. I will look out and see what anyone else has done, but my position here doesn't let me crane my neck enough to the right, so we'll wait and see it.
There's a great view of the Senna S, but not of the starting grid. We'll see it once again. Okay, we are rolling once again in Sao Paulo after a delay of over 20 minutes. The field back out onto the circuit, minus one of the 3 contenders for the title. Oscar Piastri in the barriers and out of the race. He is conducting interviews in the media pen as his teammate attempts to warm the soft tyres on the car. And Lando's gone in that direction, further back. Different story for the contenders behind.
Yeah, mediums all behind, softs for Alonso. So if you started on the soft, you switch to a medium. If you started on the medium, you've gone to a soft. I'd rather be on the soft right now. It will fire up that bit quicker. We saw it already with that first start. Antonelli was able to pile on the pressure on the first couple of laps for Norris. And of course, they've got less laps to do now, so it won't degrade as much for the end of the race. I think the soft for Lando Norris right now is a good option.
He goes for it. The tyre was degrading quicker, as you would expect from the softer compounds. And it's low grip out there, but it will give him that fire up as he restarts this race.
Yeah, rolling start. So, we're following the safety car at the moment, but the safety car will peel in, and then Norris will dictate it. Where does he go? Does he go out of Junsao and have the whole run up the hill, or does he do the favoured method in recent times in Brazil and go right towards the line? It's riskier doing that because the field will stay bunched. Lando now backs up the pack.
Talk us through exactly where you would expect him to drop the hammer.
So you've got two options. If you go here, you've got a long run up towards the pit lane, and the risk of actually getting to the safety car and also dragging Antonelli through is quite high. So I would expect it to be late. You can't go really right to the line, otherwise you are inviting the pressure. So somewhere around here, give it a couple of weaves, give it the boot from the dry part of the circuit.
This is later than we would normally see. The field in your picture. We're about to go back racing in Interlagos, and here we go. This is going to be tight. Remember the confidence that we've seen for Kimi Antonelli. Down to the first turn. Russell side by side with his teammate. The green flag flying once again. Lock up for Alonso, and it's wide for Max Verstappen. It's going to leave him vulnerable to the two-time world champion. The Mercedes are scrapping further up the order. Lando Norris leads. Then it's Antonelli versus Russell as we plunge down the hill, and George Russell's got the inside line, but it's greasy off the racing line in Interlagos, and Russell knows it. He backs away. The scrap between Alonso and Verstappen is favoured at the moment for Max Verstappen, but they were side by side through turn number 5. Lots of puddles in the background. Verstappen P4, Norris, Antonelli, Russell and Verstappen the top 4.
Alonso softs fired up really nicely, and he was just able to force Verstappen onto the damp stuff, which left him defending corner after corner after corner, and somehow he keeps Alonso behind him.
There's such a difference in warm-up at the moment. Look at Alex Albon trying to go to the inside of Pierre Gasly, not able to do so. That's the battle for 9th position. Norris is 1.1 seconds away from Antonelli. Dream restart lap for him.
It looked like Russell was going to be clean up the inside of Antonelli as well. Must have had a good run on the exit of the Centre S. Of course, that's where 3 cars just found the wall, so maybe Kimi was a little bit cautious, allowed Russell a good look up the inside, but George then was cautious on the brakes. You said, greasy offline, the drivers know it, and it's so easy to snatch a front wheel.
What a restart lap. The order didn't change much, but it was in the balance for all of the major positions. Norris timing that well and getting the restart lap that he needed. 1.2 seconds advantage, 1.1 second advantage with DRS now enabled. But we had a rolling start, DRS enabled immediately after.
Yeah, Norris's start was fairly simple, wasn't it? Wait, straight line, no weaves, no decoy, just go. But of course he had the soft tyres as well, so in a straight traction fight, he should have been able to get the power down quicker than Kimi. Of course, Kimi has to react to Lando going as well, so Norris managed to keep the lead. Russell was the driver that piled on the pressure. Verstappen was lured in deep, but they've all stayed status quo.
Lewis Hamilton, he's gained 4 places and he's improved to the sprint points. The top 8 scoring in this one. Antonelli again, sector 1, just adores the first 3 corners of this racetrack.
Going quickly, but he's outside of the DRS range of Norris. Russell's within the DRS range of Antonelli. And those softs, I think, will hang on now for Norris as well. So he's in a good position for the end of the race. Can Verstappen start to apply pressure on the Mercedes? He's not been happy with his car so far this weekend. He's bouncing a lot. That's a sort of an old problem that Red Bull seem to have again. The stiffness of the car, the new floor not working quite as well as they had hoped at this point. They will be able to change it later, but he's stuck with it for now.
Remember, new surface this year in different parts of the racetrack as well. So you might have had a fix last year, but it is different in key parts of the circuit, including from turn 12 all the way to the first turn.
Yeah, that's a flat-out stretch. It's this part, it's the middle sector where Max was struggling a lot more yesterday in qualifying. Getting the car rotated, you need a lot of mechanical grip. So just your tyres getting good grip out of the asphalt, not so much the wings working and your downforce, which is very, very important for your big braking, your faster corners. It's the low cambered corners through Pinarino, turn 9. Pico de Pato, your quirky braking zones where you need to feel the grip in the low speed.
Norris has an advantage of 1.3 seconds. You're looking at the tyre changes because we had a red flat condition and the drivers were able to do so. You want the best grip available. It is still very wet around the final sweepers of this racetrack, specifically turn 15, lock up for Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton in the background as well.
Yeah, Hamilton's wider. The problem is that puts you now offline through 2 and 3, and Stroll could come attacking on those soft tyres.
This is the battle for 7th position. Hamilton currently occupying it. and Stroll doesn't have a way through as we make our way down the hill.
Lewis had DRS as well because he was close enough to Charles on the way in there at the detection point.
This was the restart lap, which had a lot of battling.
Yeah, so Verstappen has to go and cover the inside. That is then your slippery part. Alonso's had his own big lockup, and let's have a look at the Mercedes now coming through 2 and 3.
So you can see Antonelli on the inside, Russell taking that wider line, lock up for Alonso, Verstappen then going deep.
Yeah, Max covers the brakes from Fernando, but he's on the worst part of the circuit, on the worst tyres, so I thought he might be running straight through that runoff area, managed to keep it on the track, and then get his elbows very, very wide up towards 4 and all the way through into turn 6 as well.
Alonso falling into the clutches of Charles Leclerc. Still some spray as we make our way around turn 15. This magnificent racetrack. Isaac Hadjar is the driver on the left-hand side of your screen. Trying to put the pressure on Alex Albon, who was able to fire up those soft tyres really effectively. Gasly's only half a second away from Stroll as well. Always puts on a great sprint race, Sao Paulo. Again in the first sector, Antonelli every single time with the track drying up all the while, purple sector after purple sector. He is very confident there, but crucially, he cannot get within 1 second.
No, as the middle sector is difficult to follow. There's no overtaking opportunities in this part of the lap. Tight, twisty, low speed.
And I know in general the wind is getting gustier, especially places like turn 12.
Which is here, quite exposed to the elements. You come through that off-camber, strange Magulio turn 11 that they fly then into this final corner, Junsao, and it's so critical to get the exit here. If you start fighting the car from the mid-corner to exit, you're going to carry that loss all the way up the hill, and it is quite a run that Lewis Hamilton embarks on right now, tucked in behind his teammate. Full tilt all the way to the braking zone and center S, and listen how late this is. A little bit of maybe lifting coast for the Ferrari there. Wasn't quite attacking the brakes as hard. Leclerc is going to be attacking a bit more down towards turn 4, it seems.
Yeah, further up the road, the battle between the Aston Martin and Fernando Alonso, and Charles Leclerc is on, and Alonso knows it, deviating away from the racing line and parking it back on that racing line, and he hangs on to 5th position, but the Ferrari is attacking.
Everyone knows the danger of sending one on the inside, on the slippery part of the circuit, and then trying to get it stopped, not run off the road on the exit as well. So Alonso just making sure, covering that extra few inches towards the damp patch, and Leclerc will have to wait. He's going to get a good opportunity soon. That Aston Martin was flying yesterday. Alonso on the medium tyres in SQ2, obviously topped that part of the session, was very close to doing a better job, almost towards the front row. In the end on the soft tyre as well. Was very tight, very happy with the car, but on race trim right now he seems to be fighting it a lot more.
You can see the classification on the right hand side. Antonelli running over the spray and the wet part of the circuit that you still get, nowhere near as extreme as you would normally see. Now Alonso is really on the defensive here on those soft tyres. 1.2 seconds for the lead is the gap out front.
Yeah, Leclerc fighting it slightly through 1 and 2, desperate to get on as much gas as he can because this is his next opportunity. DRS again, tucked into the slipstream.
Will he go to the inside line? They're so wary offline with all the information that they've had. Having seen 3 cars spin off at turn 3, no one's feeling brave enough for a move at 4.
I think Alonso's going to crick his neck with the amount of time he's spending looking in the mirror and then forward again and then the mirror again. He is making sure he is positioning that Aston Martin exactly where it needs to be. You don't want to defend unless you absolutely have to, because then you'll be putting your car on the damper patch and inviting the pressure in the braking zone as well. So Fernando just has to try and hope he gets good enough exits. If he has to cover the middle of the road, he will. If he has to swerve a little bit to deter the advance of Leclerc, he will. But if you can keep it clean and on the drier part, is the best way to defend.
Antonelli continues to lead his teammate, who he was side by side with on the restart lap. And he's 1.3 seconds away from the lead. The advantage he's got in the first sector, Norris has got him covered in sectors 2 and 3. It's Norris, Antonelli, Russell and Verstappen, but the closest battle on track is the one you're looking at, the Aston Martin of Fernando Alonso. 9 times he's stood on the Grand Prix podium around here, including memorably a couple of years ago with a brilliant drag race to the line up against Sergio Perez that went all the way to the end, and still Norris clings on to, sorry, it's the race lead for Lando Norris, but Alonso, crucially, clings on to 5th place.
Yeah, important point still for Ferrari as well. There's every point counting for them in the Constructors' battle. Mercedes looking like they're going to have a good haul for 2nd and 3rd here. Will take them back ahead of Ferrari in the battle. So if Leclerc and then possibly Hamilton can have a chance to clear Alonso, an extra point or 2 would be very welcome.
That Ferrari needs to get past Alonso.
I'll be sure to let him know.
Gasly looking further up the order, rejuvenated by an appearance at this circuit. He's a 2-time podium finisher around here, adores this place.
And he's got a chance of a point. He's got a chance of a point in an Alpine. Oh, it feels a long time that that's been possible, but he's been flying so far, and Stroll is just dropping away from Hamilton as well, so he might be able to have a bit more of an advance as Leclerc locks up, but he's closer than he's been on the braking zone for turn 1.
And last time around, 1.1 seconds between the top 2. There's a gasp from the crowd outside our commentary box because Esteban Ocon is soaring the Racing Bull car in front of Liam Lawson in half, but he's unable to get by. Ocon and Behrman both chasing down Lawson, who doesn't have the pace of his teammate at the moment. Ocon has got the racing line, and he's got the pass completed. Nicely done for Esteban Ocon, who's up to P13.
Yeah, that's the difficulty of defending. You put yourself onto the damper patch and then you can't have the confidence to attack the brakes. So Lawson there rarely was cautious.
What's happening to this soft tyre for Lando Norris? Antonelli now nibbling away at DRS. Norris, who started on the medium tyre. Antonelli, who has now switched that tyre. Norris saying that he's struggling with it. 1 hour of practice, then into sprint qualifying, a low grip track, and Antonelli's on the more durable rubber, and inside 1 second for the race lead.
Race on. So it seemed the soft tyre would last the distance, but they're sliding around, and when you're sliding around, you take it out of the temperature range, and because the conditions are slippery, it's ending up being very difficult on the rear. That's your traction. That's going to be difficult if Antonelli gets close to keep punching out the exit of turn 12, where he's been told the wind is gusting as well. So it is still race on into these closing laps.
Crucial moments coming the way of Lando Norris. Every point counting. At the moment, Max Verstappen fighting with one hand behind his back because his car is bouncing. Red Bull get a chance to reset that after this race. Norris has one rival out and one rival in 4th. Antonelli cares not for the championship battle. He just wants to finish P1 in a Formula 1 race for the first time. It's his rookie season. It's his 21st round in Formula 1.
Norris's last lap was particularly poor. He's managed to find a bit more pace through the middle sector on this lap, so I don't know if there was one particular moment that's just brought that gap back towards a second. It stays there on this time as Alonso, then Leclerc, then Hamilton all get wide out on the white line, and we get turn 3 syndrome again.
We get different lines through that corner. We saw it with Alonso and Perez back in 2023. Alonso likes different lines through there, but I think that was out of necessity, using all the curb and a bit more. He hangs on to 5th position at the moment. Then it's Leclerc, Hamilton, Stroll and Gasly, all battling for the lower reaches of the points. Gasly half a second away from Stroll, looking for a return to the points for the first time since the Belgian Grand Prix.
Yeah, desperate to put the pressure on Stroll and just wants Stroll to drop away from Hamilton, which he has now done as well. So Gasly's going to have a chance to get there. There's Stroll, now facing the pressure from Gasly, who's also on the soft tyre and is still enjoying life in that Alpine.
2 retirements. Franco Colapinto and Oscar Piastri. The driver 1 point back at the start of the day. Finds himself looking at that lead extending to 9 points before Grand Prix qualifying. After this, we have the Grand Prix in Brazil, in Las Vegas, a sprint in Qatar, a Grand Prix in Qatar, and what we expect to be a season-deciding Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
Norris hanging on out front is doing enough, just matching Antonelli's pace, and it is not that easy to overtake, as Leclerc is proving, because if you do even get close, sending one down the inside in a A classic Brazil T1 audacious move is even more audacious in these conditions. It's still damp even on the racing line, let alone if you then sneak with a late lunge to the inside.
Antonelli is within 0.6 of a second.
Norris must have made a mistake. Must have been up towards turn 4 or 5 because this is now tight.
He is very happy through that first sector, but he's not that happy through the first sector. Antonelli's hurrying Norris along now for the lead.
Now he'll be feeling the heat. Antonelli has nothing to lose in the championship chase. Gets close, he's got to stay close through this section, and he is. He's really, really tight to the gearbox of the McLaren. They're scrabbling for grip. It's half a second. He's going to be under pressure here.
Antonelli has been electric in the first 3 turns, but he hasn't had a run into turn 1 at any stage of the sprint race. Does that change now? Norris on fading soft tyres, sliding all the time. He's 0.7 of a second away.
Antonelli's thumb went straight for the overtake button as well. Give me all the energy you can.
P1 up for grabs in Sao Paulo. Single file through here, but this is where Antonelli has been superlative all the way through. Can he force an error from Norris? Can he put the pressure on and become the second youngest winner in Formula One history? We're running out of laps.
Norris checks the mirrors, he gets on the white line on entry as well. You can see they're starting to use them and lean on them now, but I do wonder if it was a mistake there on the last lap that has led to this pressure for the closing laps, and now Antonelli's within DRS range. If there's anything more from Norris, if there's any more sliding, Antonelli will have a chance to pounce, and he knows he can take that risk.
Antonelli, lap 20, 0.6 of a second taken out, and Norris will be trying to be eyes front, not checking the mirrors, but he will hear the V6 turbocharged engine of the Mercedes behind. Remember, it is still greasy off the racing line, so any move would be a brave one, but it's in the balance all the way to the end.
Antonelli fighting the car so early, coming out of Jinsao as well, desperate to get the foot down. Fighting it, maybe losing a little bit of the run initially. Now we'll pick up the DRS quite late in the straight and attack towards turn 1, but he's too far back in the braking zone here. Just got to keep the pressure on. And of course, Norris knows that he's in this championship chance. Needs the points, but also the jitters of leading and knowing that you've got Antonelli behind is different.
Charles Leclerc getting close to Fernando Alonso. Lock up for Fernando Alonso at the center S's. And now he's forced the 2-time champion off the ideal racing line. Top 2 are climbing the hill to Ferradura, and you can see descending down to turn 4. Charles Leclerc's finally going to get past Fernando Alonso in the battle for P5. Charles Leclerc gets past the Aston Martin.
Patience is a virtue for Charles Leclerc. How long has he waited for that chance? Looked like he was cautious into 1, but Fernando was just deep enough on the brakes that he caught himself out. And you scupper your exit, and with DRS again down towards turn 4, that is Leclerc finally through. And we'll see if Hamilton can have a chance for another Ferrari pass in the closing laps. Norris is doing enough out front. The gap stays at 9/10. It's uncomfortable, but it's enough.
There is no such thing as an easy first world championship. You have to sweat every single moment if you're going to take the crown. And Norris can check the left-hand mirror and see Antonelli right there, but he's still on the edge of the jab.
So there's 2 laps to go, but really one more big chance for Antonelli. The first sector is where you need to make the move, either turn 1 or down here at turn 4, and he's got one more chance on the next lap. Norris knows he's got to keep it calm in that middle sector, keep the rear tyres alive.
They climb the hill. Norris, Antonelli, Russell, Verstappen, Charles Leclerc, Alonso ahead of Lewis Hamilton is now the battle, and I reckon Gasly's got past Lance Stroll at turn 1 because they were cheering in the grandstands. Bortoletto's up into the top 10. He doesn't get a point for that, but he's battling Alex Albon to the delight of the crowd. Penultimate lap of the sprint race, which Oscar Piastri found the wall in. Lando Norris is trying to win the Sao Paulo sprint for the 2nd year in a row, but Antonelli has not been able to get a clear sight, a clear move. Can he change that as we head on to the final lap of the sprint?
It'll take something big from here now from Antonelli. He's no closer this lap than he has been. He's got one more chance. What's his battery level like? Has he got anything more that he can throw at Lando as they head towards the braking zone?
0.6 of a second, half a second, meters between the top 2 in the race. Antonelli trying to take all the risks possible. Slightly wide for Lando Norris. Final lap around the 2.6 miles of Sao Paulo. He's going to get DRS again now, but Norris knows if he can get through turn 4, he's just got to tick the boxes. And Antonelli's great attacking drive might just come up short, but what a run he's had today.
Yeah, superb driving from Antonelli, keeping Norris very honest. I have to say Lando's coping with the pressure here pretty well as well to keep it clean when he has to. A few more corners to go.
There's dramatic contact further back, I believe, from the oohs and ahs of the crowd. The yellow flag is being displayed. Bortoleto is dropping down the timing page. We're on the 24th and final lap of a dramatic sprint race. 0.6 of a second between Norris and Antonelli. Norris just needs to get a good exit of turn 12 and climb the hill to extend his championship lead. Antonelli made him work all the time, but it's Lando Norris who comes across the line. He sweeps around turn 15. Lando Norris wins the sprint in Sao Paulo to extend his championship lead to 9 points. Antonelli in second, Russell in third, Verstappen in fourth, and then they're all backing off at the end there, mandated by the yellow flag. So they will cruise across the line with no opportunity of overtaking, and it is Charles Leclerc, Fernando Alonso, Lewis Hamilton and Pierre Gasly back in the points for the first time since the Belgian Grand Prix. We believe Bortoleto was involved in a crash on that final lap. We'll bring that to you in a few moments. It's Lando Norris who's won, extends his championship lead to 9 points. Verstappen finishing in P4, and there is Gabriel Bortoleto, who's hit the wall hard. Crucially, he has been on the radio to say he is okay.
Yeah, I mean, the oohs and ahs from the crowd all around us for the last few laps. There was some level of scrap going on for Bortoleto, and it's obviously not ended well for him, but thankfully he's radioed that he is okay. Yellow flags for those others behind coming in towards the first corner, so no chance of attacking, but there was no chance possible anyway for Antonelli. Norris did enough. Under pressure now, he's just finding his form, isn't he? Finding the qualifying laps, getting the race starts and getting it hooked up when that was not easy for him.
Ginormous accident for Bortoleto, but it's Norris the winner. There you go, there you can see the Sauber and the impact with the barriers. He was racing Alex Albon, and let's show you what happened at the end.
So he's gone straight on into the barriers at the top of the Senna S, hasn't he? It's a fast part of the circuit, 190, 200 miles per hour, DRS.
And he's looking for a move to the inside, and that is an enormous accident. Thank goodness Gabriel Bortoleto is all right. Hits the inside wall, spat into the outside wall, and that was what could happen if you went away for the racing line, went for the late braking move. And I'm so relieved he's all right. That is an enormous crash.
Yeah, the runoff is not big there, so he comes from the outside, goes across. He's got it's a similar thing at a different part of the circuit, but he's got lateral load on, so he's turning as he's braking there to dive to the inside on the slippery part. You can see the moisture on the circuit. Wow, fierce. It's fierce there, and that you've got no chance to save that. Once you go for the move,
this is real time.
You know what? He's also got the DRS open as he's coming across as well. I mean, he's naturally, because he's not hit the brakes yet, so he's still attacking. The DRS closes when you come off the gas or you hit the brakes. So he's got the DRS open, sudden change in the attitude of the car, turning left, then he hits the brakes, and it's all too much for the tyres in these conditions with the moisture.
Hits the wall. Now he's going to be launched up by the lip of the old circuit into the barrier. And the Formula One safety standards doing the job.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hefty impact, isn't it? He's not going to be qualifying that car later either. Home race for him. What a shame.
Interlagos full of incidents once again, but it's Lando Norris who held his nerve and has won the sprint race in Sao Paulo for the second year in a row. Norris, Antonelli and Russell, the top three. Antonelli getting the congratulations from his Mercedes team. His strongest race in Formula One so far. Jolene, you were saying before we went on air, he's gone through starting on the front row in Miami. He's had that experience. Didn't work out for him that day. He had all the knowledge, slippery surface, and puts it to good use for a P2 in Formula One.
It's a great race, and he's hitting form. which is just useful for him at the end of this season. Obviously, new regs, new chances next year for Antonelli, but he's now showing the class and the talent that Toto Wolff saw in him. And he'll have another chance later on. Mercedes look really competitive, don't they? Russell there as well. Can Red Bull find anything? Can Ferrari respond with anything? But Antonelli, the last few races, is really coming on well.
That's his best